It's coming over the phone. We're live at Fred's Barber Shop. Howard came in. So we got Howard, Connour, we got Mike Carroll, Englehardt, and we've got over there in the corner hiding is Fred.
Hey Fred, are you there?
Start moving the furniture right away.
And well, we're not getting everybody in, so let me see if I can back this thing up.
Problem, isn't it?
Yeah. So
We can put our chairs up here.
yeah, we may want to move the.
Pretty good. How are you doing?
We want to bring the chairs up a little bit,
Oh, I can bring your chairs up on around there.
and
We're going to do a group
I think
barbecue.
weighs 100.
Yeah, do a group if you want to.
Yeah.
we're just.
Haircut.
I'm just now getting my.
Normally we'd have the room prepared ahead of time, but we don't really know what we're going to run into until we get here.
We never know.
David, never.
We don't.
That surprises.
We're not really into planning.
Are you anybody coming, Fred?
Somebody told me that last night.
Anybody else coming?
30 years ago I was hired.
I don't
Anybody else
know.
coming in?
I hope some customers are. Yeah.
Well, you guys come up here a little bit.
Yeah, because we're not going to be able to
you
see
want us up
otherwise.
there?
Yeah, that's the
Well,
whole
I don't know.
idea.
If the customer comes in,
Howard, come up here.
You guys go ahead. I'm
No,
just
no,
here.
no.
I'm here to
We've been
watch.
wanting to get you in here for years.
He'll watch.
There's another chair there, Howard. Just
We're
go
not
over
gonna.
Howard, you over here by me.
I'm cameras.
Get that chair over there.
Yeah, come over there, put a chair next to Mike, and
Camera shot
I had
back.
a good visit with Ronnie Atkinson the other day in the grocery store.
that noise is Howard scooting his chair.
Do you know Steve Maddox died?
Steve.
Do you know that, Fred?
How's that?
Steve Maddox died?
Well, actually, Fred, we'd be a little better off on.
No, I didn't.
Hey, Fred,
Go.
we'd be a little better off if we could keep those blinds closed.
I'm gonna close. You want to know all the blinds closed?
Well, at least that one. Let's
At least
see.
at least the ones where there's windows.
No,
He's
Yeah.
open for business.
I don't want anybody to see
Fred?
what we're going on in here.
Close them where they have windows. But where
Yeah.
they have blinds against the wall, you can leave those open.
Well, it's just gonna. The lights. How about that one's fine, but how about this one over here? Is there a blind on it?
What, that window there?
Yeah. Can we block the light a little bit on that?
I've got a bed sheet out in the car.
Hey, I've got my own here right now.
Now, I'm not going to be able to see the comments from people, so we'll have to
See the
answer
comments.
This is one
because
of
we're
those old,
running off the
There
phone.
will be some
This is-
comments.
And
This is one of those old air raid shades.
this is perfect. And so anyway,
Yeah, but Fred's surely got Wi-Fi here, doesn't he?
Fred's
Got what?
in the chair.
Fred's got Wi-Fi. You should borrow your computer.
no, he doesn't have Wi-Fi. He's got.
Old redneck.
Fred, you don't have
This is a
Wi-Fi?
laid-back redneck barber shop.
Yeah, I didn't know
But
rednecks
it-
were laid back.
Fred.
Watch.
Fred doesn't
You're
have.
outside.
There he goes. He's laid back.
I'm laid back.
If you
Nah.
flip over, you get hurt. Gotta call the ambulance.
Now, Fred said he doesn't have Wi-Fi, but he does have indoor plumbing,
Well,
which is
that's
probably something he didn't have. not
news to
had.
me.
So,
News
man,
to me.
we may have to speak up a little bit since we're
Remember-
running.
Remember the old pool hall? We used to go to the restroom. There was a hole in the floor.
Where the sump pump was.
Used to be a toilet, and then the back was gone. Then the toilet was gone, and they wound up with just a hole.
Set up on
Yeah.
like a box.
Right. Yeah. We wound up with a hole in the floor.
Yeah, it was where the sump pump was.
I thought it worked fine. Except when the sump pump kicked on. If you were in the wrong position and the sump pump kicked on,
Jerk.
you sometimes had an accident. But let's not talk about it.
No.
Now, Fred, you want to cut
I
here?
just
or-
started it because I never heard anything about that, so why don't you tell me about it?
All right, I'm gonna get one thing out of the way right away. I told on the radio, what is this thing? Radio, television?
It's
Webcast.
on the air.
Yes. I told everybody in high school, you were a great dancer, fast dancer, right?
Sort of.
You could dance, couldn't you?
Sort of.
You could cut a rug.
Sort of.
You were Fred Asparagus.
And then after that, after high school and moved on down the years, and I got married, and then I attended these barn dances we had up at Pasodum when I married half of Pasodum and didn't know it.
Yeah.
And we'd go to these shed parties, and I really had a good time then.
Yeah.
But then something did it. I don't know. The boots wore out, and the age went on, and
Well,
here we are.
you're from Pasodum, right?
Well, no, I'm
No.
not originally from Pasodum. My wife is.
His Bart's from.
And
Yes.
I met her, and yeah.
You have deep roots there.
So you went from cutting a rug to cutting hair.
Yeah.
What?
Well, I remember you watching you dance.
You know what
He
I
took up the whole
remember?
floor, he took up the whole
I
floor.
remember Fred's rules. Fred is always right, that's number one. And number two, if Fred is wrong, see rule one. That's, I kinda like that.
Remember the,
Kids didn't like it, but that was too bad.
remember Barney Fife talked about the rules of the jail?
Oh, yeah.
We have
Here
two-
at the Rock,
Here at the Rock, we have 2 rules. 1, don't write on the walls. 2, obey all rules.
that's true.
Who's
That's-
cutting here?
That's good.
Fred, you wanna cut hair, or are you more comfortable?
You wanna talk or cut hair?
No, I'm gonna have to go to work, that's all there is to it. The only way I can talk is I have to cut hair or.
Yeah.
So I get a haircut, that's,
All right, well, you said so, but I didn't.
that's why we came
Now-
in.
All right, well, yeah.
But,
Well, you
I've
said-
got
we want-
something to say to Howard here. Did you read Joe Caldwell's thing
Yes.
about Gus's?
Yes, I did.
Wasn't that wonderful?
Yes, it was.
I started to read, but I got interrupted this afternoon.
Can you
yeah,
imagine
by
that?
me.
What did you think?
Oh,
It
hey,
was, I mean,
he's writing from 40 years ago, 50 years ago, what it was like.
You
it
got
was,
enough light, to cut hair, Fred?
Wasn't that you that wrote the article one time about
Alright.
Gus putting mustard relish
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
your
Well-
hamburger?
Well, what happened was us kids started flooding. The 7th, 8th graders, when the baby boomers hit, he wasn't ready for us. 40 of us were spoiled, so we don't want to eat lunch. You know, everybody else ate lunch, but we said we're too good for lunch. So we went down to Gus's, 40 of us, and he had a grill about the size of, you know,
Yeah, it wasn't very big.
it was 2 by 2.
it's
So by
almost a
3.
hot plate.
So
like
what he
that.
did was, he cooked the hamburgers all morning and put them in a big
Bun warmer.
bun warmer. And by the time you got there, he just reach in and grab them, and they always had mustard and relish. And they always were kind of, the outside of the bun was greasy and soft and and the middle was crusty from being there all day long.
Good thing you're here, Fred.
I always would
Bill
say,
Mike's,
jump in there and correct me when I'm wrong, Fred. But
No, you're
anyway,
doing fine.
in this, I said, Gus, I don't want mustard and relish, I just want ketchup. He said, okay, and he handed me one, it was mustard and relish. Today I like mustard and relish, but the other thing you had to do then, the things, you had to get a chocolate shake. You take a bite of the hamburger and you hurry up and take some shake to soften it up.
It was salty, really good salty, greasy
No
things
matter
were
where
so
you got
good.
the mustard
Maybe
relish or
I-
not,
You got it.
You got it on your
To
hamburger.
this day, it's one of my favorite hamburgers. I don't think anybody can make it.
There was one thing missing out of the article.
You may have to talk up a little, Bill.
Okay, I'm gonna say this.
Keep it down, Fred.
I'm
Live
trying to, but
performance.
this thing says no. I ain't got a muffler.
The one thing about that article, we all know that who was there working with Gus, and that was Bill Skinner.
Oh, yeah.
And see, we've kind of forgotten, you know, once the
Well, he was
granddaughters took over, Bill was there for many years.
Bill was down in the basement making chocolates, and I went down there one time with Gus. The ceiling's about 5 foot high.
Yeah,
And you'd bend over and you make chocolate, and
Yeah.
you'd carry it up. You had to be like a gymnast to go down there and work. And it was, you don't want to know that the chocolate was made down there. You didn't want to know that.
That ceiling was low.
Yeah.
My mother helped dip chocolates down there with Greg's mother, Helen. And, yeah, that was a low ceiling. And also, I remember the homemade ice cream. The thing about that was, Bill always used extra vanilla in the homemade ice cream. That's why it was so rich. In the metal container. And once you took it home and it was empty, you brought the metal container back, so it was
Well, did Bill work at one of the banks in town?
after he left.
After
Yes.
Gus's son came back, Paul,
Yeah.
and so
I
Bill
don't
left.
know here, Howard, he's so soft spoken.
Well, Howard, by the way, you played pool down the pool hall, Fred.
You ever play pool?
No, I attempted to.
Did you?
I was always put out for somebody that, well,
Well, probably me. So the 3 of us here, we're gonna talk about Gus's, but we also talk about, right here, 3 pool hall regulars, right?
That's right.
And between the 3 of us, I was the best.
what?
You're entitled to your own opinion, Mike. I'll just say
Yeah,
that.
Howard, you've been accurate so far, don't blow it now.
I'm not going to, I'm not going to.
Okay, how about between Englehardt now? Who would you less wanna face in snooker?
I just prefer not to get there.
Hey, Howard, are you running for office, Howard? Are you running for
No, but you put me on the spot.
Well, that's where everybody's on the
Now,
spot. President's
here's
election
one,
on the spot.
here's one we can talk about. Let's think about this for a moment. Who was better? Larry Otten, Davy Bishop,
Larry
Greg
Otten.
West?
Larry Alton. Larry Alton played professional.
What do you think? Well, Shavy's still shooting in Champaign.
I don't know about shaving the last 50 years, I just know at the time Larry went on and shot over in Decatur places for money.
Why, Davey goes to Las Vegas and plays the tournaments out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm talking about, I don't know since the pool all day.
Larry Hutton was awfully
At the
good.
time,
That would be hard to say which one was the best.
Yeah. They were all three of them were good.
On any given day, one could beat the other one, I think.
Yeah, that's kinda like you and I in golf.
what? I don't get the comparison.
Well, I mean, on any given day, you never
And
know.
I'll say this, on any given day, Mike, you can beat Bill. On any given day, Bill, you can beat Mike.
Are you sure you're not running for circuit clerk?
You're not gonna put me on the spot on that one.
I probably can't even get you to say who your presidential
But,
candidate is.
on the other hand, I can still take both of them.
There you go. See now, there it
There
is.
it is. Now you sound like Bernie Sanders, you know, I can do it.
Yeah.
No, Joe Biden, I did it. Fred, you gonna talk politics?
Howard
Let's look at here.
Howard can take both of you, that's for sure.
Howard was, okay, he was good. He was right up there close to Bill and I.
How's David looking? Oh, man.
Fred, how'd you do the other day when I was in here?
You gonna take his beard off, Fred?
With the cat guy, you came out okay on that?
Now, by the way, we have no idea if this is working.
Guy
do we?
with the cats,
We don't.
you said don't.
Thanks a lot. You reminded me now, too bad for your haircut from here on out.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
Hey, Dave, how do you know this is working? We're just wasting our time once we get
Well,
here.
it was working when I put it up there.
Oh, okay, well, it has to be working then, doesn't it?
You know,
Oh, you
going
can-
back
you
to
can-
Davey Bishop, when he was almost tall enough to be over the table when he started playing.
Right.
And he'd get down there with all those older guys, and he would beat them, and they would get so mad at him.
He just had a, man, he had
He's
an
a
eye.
natural born fool.
Yes, he
But there
was.
were pool players, and then there were snooker players. There's a totally different,
Well, yeah.
totally different feel. Snooker, you had to have a delicate touch.
Oh,
Delicate. Very delicate.
Webby and Lawton were probably the best snooker players down there, I think.
A lot of good guys.
They could occasionally beat me.
Did a lot of, you did a lot of growing up in the pool hall. A lot of,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
growing up.
Yeah, you lose, you pay, if you don't pay, you get beat up. I mean, you mature pretty quick, right?
Man,
Hey, Howard, do you remember the time I was gonna run for governor of California? Yeah, there was like
I remember reading the
24,
article.
you and Durnell wrote an article with 11 others, and you're gonna be my campaign managers out there.
Yeah, I remember that.
Fire phone's the fire from the phone.
Telephone ring, the price.
Yeah, I remember reading that article when you were.
Probably someone saying, we can't hear because
They
the,
promised me my
Fred's
campaign
barber
manager.
shop. Who is this?
that must be Doug.
Well, I don't know, it doesn't sound like another damn telemarketer, wait a minute.
Is it coming through? Is it coming through?
How we coming through? We coming through okay?
He don't know.
We can't see the comments.
Who was it?
What's his name?
What's his name?
Oh, yeah, him.
I got a senior moment there, just a minute, I'll tell you in a minute.
Okay.
What, Doug Grimm?
Doug Grimm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Howard, we were expecting you to call us to see if this was working.
Well,
Was it working?
well, we have no way to see, or he couldn't, he would have to call us. He would have to call us.
Is anything moving back
I don't
there?
know if they can hear you at all, cause I can't hear a thing with that buzzer in my ear, but.
Is there a
that's
picture?
all right.
Well, yeah, the picture's all right.
Okay,
That's good.
Yeah.
yeah,
What are you looking at?
Looking at you now, Fred.
For Pete's sake.
yeah, it's amazing.
I thought it was just gonna be one of these radio things.
It is.
You
Oh,
just
it
you
is.
kind of got the top of Fred's head
It's
cut
a-
off.
It's
So
a,
is it? Well, you can use that handle there and adjust a little bit.
it's a
Right,
radio thing.
pull
with
it
some
down just a
pictures.
little.
Oh,
Yeah, you can-
really?
Whatever.
Look at this. Now Howard's a
You may have to
technician.
twist
There
it
you
to
go, Howard.
loosen it up a little.
He's one of
There you go.
There we got Fred in
There you
there.
go.
All right.
Fred's a star.
Sure proud of it. Well, at least the top of the head wasn't glistening, was it?
No,
I
no.
cut Fred's hair earlier on the top.
Or, no, you didn't.
And he done a fine job too.
It is, it does look good, Dave.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do your beard today?
Well, he's not feeling, he said he
I
wasn't
don't
feeling
think
up to a beard.
No,
Oh,
there's too much.
so
You
think
know,
of all the guys that have passed away.
Yeah.
All of our buddies.
Hold it most of the time.
You know who else was pretty good? Was Wayne Hardwick was good.
Yeah.
You don't wanna
Stains
just,
it.
Wayne's
you don't wanna edge that
not
mustache
real,
down just a
real well.
His kidneys are,
Right.
He's getting
He's on the transplant list.
but he was a good pool shooter.
Oh, yeah.
And nice guy. Now Darnell was not a good pool shooter, but you never wanted to beat him.
Right.
Because he may take you up into the wall.
Yeah.
You were a lucky guy, you were like, you're
I
very
always
lucky.
got along.
That'll be fine.
Yeah. Cause I was so little and he was so much bigger than me.
And nobody's ever gonna mess with you.
No.
Chuck likes you.
Fred
No,
said
Chuck
you're not
likes
doing-
you. You
not
got
doing
buddy
the
for
best work
life.
here. Maybe you're
That's
distracted.
the way it was.
Is Fred messing up?
Maybe a
No.
little distracted.
Now, do you cut by sonar waves?
You wanna change the subject?
Yeah.
What about the South Ward grade school, back there when you were in the, going to grade school?
Well, I
Teachers,
went to all of them. I went to Old
Yeah.
North Ward, they tore down. I went to the next Old North Ward, then I went to the South Ward.
yeah, the South Ward, who was some of your teachers?
South Ward, I had, Mrs. Quackenbush was there, Elmer Broyles, I remember, Janet.
Gee, man, I remember him.
Yeah.
Great big guy.
Janet Southern,
Yes,
Janet Southern, I had a pea shooter that I
Mhm,
kept, and
yeah.
I shot a pea and hit Renee Allen in the eye. And Janet Southern took me outside, grabbed me, lifted me up and slammed me against the wall and said, buddy, it's time you turned over a new leaf. And I wrote about 30 years later, I was a lawyer, and she asked me to come do her will, she was dying. I went to her house and she was laying there, and I wore a suit, shined my shoes, and I said I stood there like a shiny new leaf, and she never said a word. I was hoping she'd say, you're a shiny leaf. It never happened. Yeah,
She
they were,
probably didn't remember.
Mrs. McDaniel was a great teacher. They're
Yeah.
right over here, a couple blocks.
Marguerite.
Marguerite was a great teacher.
yep.
Was it that Tom McDaniel's
Tom,
mother?
Tom's
Yes.
mom.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And then, back at the Old North Ward, the annex was Juanita Mitchner, 5th grade.
Yeah.
We had Joyce Credemeyer.
Joyce was there.
She was there. And then,
Mr.
now,
Henry.
Howard and I had. now
Mr.
he's-
Nicely and Mr. Henning,
Oh, Mr. Nicely was a good guy.
great.
Carl Henning taught 7th grade, I think.
Yeah, he
But
thought
now,
so.
Howard and I had George Trout.
Oh,
6th grade.
which I was looking at you,
Well, you didn't know because, and he would take that glass eye out and set it on his desk.
He's always told me,
Yeah,
so I'll
the
keep,
girls would all go, ooh.
I always said, George, I'm gonna come by now, he said, I'll keep an eye out for you.
He
Now,
was-
George,
he was
George was a
sixth
nice
grade.
guy,
He was 6th grade and he had a son in the 6th grade with us.
and he
Yeah,
lived out by, Ross was out in the country.
Yeah, that's where he
Yeah,
lived out at
yeah.
Virgil Ross.
Yeah, George Stroud.
Fred,
Yeah.
how many how many people's hair have you cut, you reckon, over more than 50 years?
I don't know, but when I die, I'm going to see the amount of hair that I cut in my lifetime of 51 years, and I'll know, it's probably a semi-load,
Oh, probably.
but.
You'll see it, how
You know, I can't really,
how do you know you're gonna see it at the pearly gates? You know?
Yes, sir.
Well, I see.
They'll show you
Well, I
everything.
see all the.
You'll get to see
well, I
some
the
stuff you
truckloads of
don't wanna
justice.
see.
Will you see the truckloads of justice that I dumped on?
Yep,
And,
you'll know it all.
and
You'll
all the,
probably be
and all the
walking back
broken,
into
all
the
the
pool.
broken hearts that,
Yeah.
Mike will see all the broken hearts he left behind.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he did.
Oh, yeah.
He did leave them.
You know, I can't believe this, I've been in this building right here, this year, June the 10th, for 40 years.
Is that right?
I cannot believe 40 years. It just did 40? No.
It just seemed like last year was 39.
Or the last year was just 2. The
I
same
remember- I
thing, it's
think,
just differently.
I think you were at the Hotel Douglas when you started cutting my hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How many
Remember
years
Jerry
ago?
Tag up there? Remember Jerry Tag?
Yeah.
Jerry Tag's cutting your hair.
Oh,
A pretty
Jerry,
girl would walk
yeah.
by, he would run to the window. Remember that? He would
I
run to the
do.
window.
No.
and-
Jerry Wood?
Oh, Jerry.
Larry.
Jerry.
I love that building.
Brown was there. Thompson was there.
Larry Ross.
Yeah, and then there was Jerry Tag. And Jerry would see a pretty woman out there, a high school girl, and he would just leave your hair and run to the window.
No.
Yeah. Did he?
Yes,
Yeah,
he did.
he
He
did.
would
Larry
ask
Ross
us-
always
When,
did
when
that.
Sharon Colvin,
would ask
when
us who
Sharon
these
Colvin,
two girls
when Sharon Colvin walked out of Gus's,
Yeah,
he about passed out.
well, the other one I remember distinctly asking about was Jane Furco.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, that was Jane, you
You
know.
ever cut any famous people's hair, Fred?
Smiley Burnett, didn't you do Smiley's?
No, I didn't do Smiley. I did some famous people, I can't remember them.
Oh, you know, I'll tell you, Fred, most
Other,
people,
other than me.
Most people don't know this about Fred. Fred's a great guy.
I've done a lot of famous people.
Now, here's one famous person he did. My old coach, Bill Bukovich, got Alzheimer's, and they put him over at Paris. Fred would gather up his tools and go over there and cut Bill's hair. That was really
Over at Christmas.
Christmas. That was nice
yeah,
of you.
yeah.
That was nice of you, Fred.
You know, Bill was at the point where you didn't know if he knew you or not.
Well, some days he did.
But then Dean, there was three of us went over, four of us. There was Arlie Jones, his neighbor, Dean Lovell, the other neighbor,
Right.
and then there was Doc Steiner and me.
Mhm.
And we'd go over there, and Dean brought a putter and a golf ball. And we went over there, and we took Bill out into the open areas, like a big living room. And we got a water glass, set it down, and you didn't think Bill knew, but you give him the club, and boy, he just
Still
adjusted that club, moved up to it, a couple swings, you know, and
Pop the ball.
it came right back to him.
Well, he was.
But then he wouldn't talk for a while. He would stand there. When we got done cutting his hair one day, we came out into the activity room, which was a long living room over there. Beautiful building. And I was standing there with my suitcases, and there was Doc, there was Dean, and the activity director, and Arlie, and they had a basketball. And they were playing pitch with Bill, pitch and catch, you know. And I was standing there, and yeah, you know what he did. He was looking at those guys, and boom, he gutted me with that ball. And I was clear over the other side of the wall.
Sound like Bill's perfectly normal to me.
Yeah, he was. He was. And you know what? He had that meanie look.
Yeah.
Well, I cut his hair.
When he furrowed his brows in football, when the two eyebrows touched, you just ran.
Yeah, yeah.
You just ran the other way.
In trouble then.
You're in trouble.
Yeah, you know what he did though? He sat there, he was in the chair, and I had to kneel down to cut his top, the flat top. I knelt down, and he just looked at me, just meaner than hell.
Oh,
And I looked right at him just the same way.
yeah,
And he just busted out grinning. Just
yeah.
Well, you had scissors in your hands.
yeah, I got a comb over here too.
Yeah.
Oh, I can talk pretty good, you know, but, yeah.
Just
Well, that was
in the
nice.
way, yeah.
That was nice of you going over there, Fred, I
Yeah,
thought.
sure.
Well, you've done, Fred, of course, cut hair, probably still do it, the nursing home and
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
funeral home and.
Well, they called me on, George Barnett was out there. He called me, I came down to the hotel in November '72. He called me at the hotel and said, we need a barber out here, and come out to, sure, so I went out and I cut their hair. Well, then December rolled around, and I didn't know, he never said anything more. So pretty soon, he calls me up on the phone and says, where the hell you been? I said, what? You're supposed to be out here cutting hair. Well, you never told me before. So I started in, and ever since then, I've been going every third Wednesday of each month, ever since then, going out cutting hair. And you know what, those people out there, they're awesome. I really miss those people. They're gone, but, no, they cross your heart.
Yeah, you knew many of them,
Yeah.
many of them.
Now, my mom was out there 4 years, and they had,
Yes, she
they had a
was.
beautician come in every week and do hair.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big deal. But my mom used to be a beautician, so she had always taught her how to do it.
She did my hair,
Did she?
yeah. I decided to peroxide it one summer. I wanted that Beach Boy look.
You always,
Yeah.
you always had it though,
Well, I don't
right?
know what I
She
had.
was a good looking.
But anyway,
What
this,
I think of when I
this
think of
hair,
Bill Englehardt, I think of Beach Boys.
well,
Yeah.
this hair turned orange.
Well, that's,
So I went into the
that's
shop
California.
and Betty laughed at me. I mean, of course, there were about how many women sitting there.
Yeah.
At that time, you didn't go into a ladies'
Oh,
shop.
yeah.
And, gee,
Buddy Archibald used to go in there and get his. You know,
so anyway, they had to take it out of my hair.
Joe Caldwell, by the way, orange
That's great,
hair.
Fred.
Here's a Ronald Reagan joke. They asked Gerald Ford one time if they thought Ronald Reagan dyed his hair. He said, no, it's just prematurely orange. Orange is a California color.
It is.
Joe Caldwell, who wrote Gus's, who we've talked about here, Joe took off from Tuscola in 1966, went west. He went to University of Idaho at Moscow, and he worked out there. He went up in the Forest Service. Joe's probably been gone, I don't know, 4, 6, 8 years. I don't know. Been gone a long time. And he came back home. And my mom had a beauty shop out in the garage because Linda had diabetes. She had to stay home. So Joe said, let's go out and surprise your mom. And there's all kinds of women sitting there. It's kind of like right here. So I walk in, I said, Mom, I got a surprise for you, and Joe walks in, she goes, hi, Joe, and she turns around and just keeps cutting hair. And Joe looks at me, that's it? I said, that's all you get, Joe.
That's what you
Hi,
get.
Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Been gone 8 years.
I'll be darned.
Yeah. Fred, now, you haven't told us your most famous person yet. Who do you think? Besides Bucko.
He's thinking about it.
You thinking?
He's thinking.
Yeah, you're not gonna believe it.
The room just got warmer.
Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, I was emailing back and forth with Joe here a couple of weeks ago. I sent him a picture of the old Northwood, of the backside, if he wants some pictures anyway. Where he lived over by the railroad tracks, and I lived clear over on East Barker, 609 East Barker, and his dog came from his house all the way to my house, but made up with my female dog when she was in heat.
Really?
Yeah, and he remembered that, because I asked him, I said, didn't you used to have a dog named Wiggles? He said, yeah. He said, how do you know about Wiggles? It's a funny story, Joe, let me explain this to you.
Wind must have been blowing from the northeast.
Yeah, but that dog traveled all
There's
the
a
way
reason
from the
that
railroad
dog was
tracks.
named Wiggles.
4 or 5 blocks, yeah, because
Oh,
every
big
time
dog.
he'd wag his tail, because he had a tail cut off,
Yeah.
and every time he'd wag his tail, his butt was going back and
Wiggles,
forth.
Wiggles,
So I called him
Wiggles.
Wiggles.
So Joe and I we played, when we were young, we played over the railroad was the place to play.
Yeah.
And we'd run out there and we'd take pieces of coal. We first put a penny out there on
Yeah,
the track.
put a penny on
And
the
then we
track.
put a great big hunk of coal,
Yeah.
and then we run like, we thought we were gonna derail the train. You know, the train would hit that and flip over. But then they had this Quonset-like thing down there on the north side that they stored something in, and you could crawl underneath it. It was precast
Yeah, all
concrete.
the way back.
And you could crawl back in there, there's spiders and mice and rats.
Oh, there is.
Time out, guys.
Fred's
Time
waiting
out.
for the vacuum.
I'm out.
Little noise here.
How's he look?
Little production.
Now Fred, when you're done, I wanna say something.
Yeah, I'll hurry.
No!
What's that?
You okay?
Oh my.
You okay?
What's that
You
smell?
okay? Oh, what happened just then?
Fred.
Hey, Wiz, I'm sorry.
Call the ambulance.
We'll be done here in a little bit, folks. Hang on.
Now, I wanna say
Now you
this.
can talk now.
Fred is the only guy in the world that does this. It's the greatest thing in the whole world to get your haircut. It's Fred. Most people will whisk it down your back, or they'll blow it, and then blow it down your back. Fred actually takes a vacuum cleaner and sucks it off your head, so it doesn't go down your back.
This is my favorite part right here. The,
Oh, you get a little
little
shady.
shaving cream, little shave
Yeah,
on the back.
that's the good part.
Right,
Well, that's a real razor though, right?
right.
Yeah.
The hot,
That's a real
You
race.
see,
and
there's
it's hot,
times, there's times the little kids in here, and they see that and they want that.
The razor.
So I have a special razor, it's a real razor. It's as sharp as a marble,
yeah,
but they get the same effect.
right.
You know, that's
And I
what,
love it.
that's another Jerry Tag thing he would do, Fred, down there at the hotel. You'd be sitting there, and he'd get his, what do they call that, strothing?
Yeah,
He'd stroke the razor, and you know what it looks like, and all of a sudden he'd pull back your sheet, and he would take the razor, I didn't know, he'd turn it over, and he'd run it across your forearm, and you'd about pass out,
Yeah,
you know.
it was,
But he turned it
he
over.
was terrible.
He was terrible.
He
That's
was
what-
a terrible barber. He'd come in here and I'd cut his hair, I'm telling you. And he'd start saying, you don't, what the hell you got that razor? Why don't you get that thing sharp? You could, I said, no, I appreciate you, Jerry, so much, I want a dull razor. And I just,
Yeah. Do you remember a barber named Bill Jamerson?
sure do.
Mhm.
Bill, he was the first barber in town that had vacuum clippers.
I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Did he have a place down here?
he was down here, he ended up down here on the highway.
By decal,
Then he sold out to Mr.
Yeah, right on the corner.
Tibbs.
Yeah.
used to be, yeah, Mr. Tibbs, used to be a restaurant right there.
Oh,
Yeah, it was
Remember the
Boy,
restaurant?
Tibbs.
Edith's restaurant.
Remember the restaurant?
Yeah, I do. I remember the restaurant. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember Bill Jamerson in there cutting hair.
Virgil Lee, he was another barber in town.
Virgil was down on the south
Yeah,
fork.
Virgil.
Southward.
Southward.
Now
Bill
there-
Jamerson.
Building.
Was a barber, Virgil Lee.
Virgil, yeah.
He was
And-
good.
Most people don't know this, his two sons were like the Everly Brothers.
Yeah,
Remember Danny
Danny,
Lee?
Dick and
and
Danny.
Dick and Danny
and,
would play, go out to the park, and they'd
actually, there
just,
was the three of them, Joe and Dick and Danny.
Don't know
And
each
Dick
other.
and Danny were,
Brothers.
yeah,
sounded just like the Everly Brothers.
Hmm.
Nice Stroth and the Razor.
That's very good. It's using a razor strop. And
Now turn it over and so
You
it's
know
like
that
a-
little
now this
building.
is the thing about, you see this razor, now, one day, I had a guy in here, Danny Meyer was sitting over there, and there was another guy, new customer sitting there, and my older customer sitting in the chair, and so I stropped the razor on him, see, and I started this, there, you know, and I said, yeah, I'll be right, you know. And that guy sitting there is on Saturday, and he was sitting there, and about a minute later, he just got up,
And walk out.
walked to the door, and I greeted gingerly, and I said, sir, I'll be, I close at 2:30, yeah, I'll be back. Never saw him. They cost me my fee then.
It cost you.
Well, but you got a good laugh.
Well,
just careful with the ear there, Fred.
Don't worry,
he's in complete control.
I had a barber one time and he said, did you see this? And I said, yeah. And he said, I don't know what this is, but here's another one. That's an old barber joke. Fred, is this plant right here in the middle of the room, is that some rare
It's
cactus?
an aloe plant.
that is an aloe vera plant, and the reason why it's in the center of the floor is that is a burn plant, and that is good for everything.
So
I
you
mean,
put it when you cut
if you
the
have,
nick?
if you have interior, I had a bee sting in here one day, I was outside behind, we had apple trees back, and I got stung, it went up my pant leg and he stung me. So I went in the garage, and the first thing I did was drop my drawers down, because that bee was in my pant leg. And I already got stung once, and when I was a little kid, I got stung 5 times like that, so anyway, and he took off, there he went. So I pulled up, come in here, and I took one of those aloe vera plants, a piece of it, and I rubbed it on there, and that sting went away, but it came back.
So
So
just,
I rubbed it again.
so just take off a little piece of the thing?
Yeah, you just cut a piece of that off, and if you're feeling kind of woozy in your stomach, maybe you're, you know, kind of acid reflux, something like that, just take a piece of that and eat it with a cracker or something. Bingo, there it goes.
I didn't know you could eat them.
This building was the
Now the
milk
reason,
house.
Yeah,
Was
field
it-
testing.
Yeah,
the reason it's sitting there like that, you see,
load milk
is
here for
because
my
in case you
pain.
have a bad case of hemorrhoids, come and sit on top of it.
Bob Halpin.
Wait, did you hear the cure?
What was the cure? Rub it on you?
Okay,
No,
hemorrhoids just
yeah,
settle.
hemorrhoids, you just sit,
settle.
you just take it, you just sit on
Drop
that
your
plant.
drawers and just sit on it.
Kinda cauterizes it.
I don't think so.
You know, it looks like the plant that, what do they make tequila out of? The guava?
I don't know.
Yeah, you sure that's not the
That's not what
tequila?
counts.
I don't know. I never had intoxications by eating a piece of that. so I
It's
don't
an
know.
aloe vera.
That may be some other plant, that may be,
Now, back to where you, Bill, you said, this place used to be the seal tent, you're right.
Right.
Yeah, I remember this so much.
Yeah.
And the funny part about it was, where the shelving is up there with the radio, that's the door, exactly where the door would go into the walk-in cooler. And there was a wall across there, there was a desk back here, there was a counter here, and there was a daily calendar there. If you needed extra, you come in there and go write your name, whatever it is, around, take it out, walk-in
now,
cooler.
now there we can get going here. My dad came back from World War II. His first job was delivering the milk.
Really?
Yeah,
You never said that. I never heard
yeah,
that.
he did.
Where'd he deliver
did-
for?
I don't know, but I was thinking of the owners. Bob Hausman owned it at one time.
Well,
and
this
then-
is it,
The house went on this.
Yeah.
And then
Field test.
after him was the fireman,
Mike Payne.
Mike Payne.
Yeah.
And I think he was gonna sell it to Tommy Harris. I don't think Tom ever bought it, but
No,
Well, there
no.
was a country charm.
Country Charm was
That was
up
Irving-
by.
Irving.
No, Country
Park
Charm was
Street.
up there, up street.
Irving,
But who owned that?
Irv Eaton in the sixties.
You're right.
And Irv Eaton had that, and he got involved, and speaking of Buckovich, when he was principal in the town,
Oh, yeah.
fell apart, they hired him, they fired him, they had protests.
Howard was already in the service by then.
Anyway, Irv Eaton,
65, yeah.
Irving-
I went in-
Irving
I went
voted-
in 1965, March of 65.
Yeah.
Irv Eaton voted to keep him on board, and they boycotted him and broke him. I think he lost his business over that.
Didn't Oscar Singing on that Country Charm dairy?
He was always down the road right
They
here.
always
Well,
had
he had the donuts.
Donuts,
Yeah.
I don't-
bakery.
I don't know him ever doing milk.
My
I
uncle
remember
used
that.
to, my uncle delivered milk for Country Charm back in.
Did he?
Yeah.
Who had it before Irv
Bill
Eaton, you
Burmeister.
know?
Who?
Who had it before Irv Eaton? Down there where, across from Metco, where,
Yeah, where Centuries used to be, and then
Isn't
the
that where
parking lot.
Lehman's building is now?
Yeah, Lehman, that's right.
Irv Eaton ran that in the sixties. I think it folded after that.
Country Charm did.
Yeah.
Now, Les Dick said, the parking lot there, which is covered up now, but there's a manhole cover there, and there was a cistern in there, and he said it's full of milk bottles, glass milk bottles, collectible milk. Les used to collect those things, and I don't know if they're today or not. But they just blacked out the word used. There was, the dairy was there, and gosh, I can't think now. Who in the world?
Mr. Smith turned it into an antique store.
But Harold Zane, he just had the donut shop was right up the street here where Steve's at now with the. Oh my. Jeez, what was the name of that guy?
The ran the dairy?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Was it Peevely Dairy? There was something else.
From Country Charm?
Yeah.
Well, the guy, Miller at Monticello had,
Bob Miller.
Bob Miller had the dairy.
We won he was a great guy, we won the Ocall and the.
Tell you what, Joe Slaughter will know. You ask Joe, he can
Yeah,
tell
Joe
you
will know.
everything.
Call him.
I don't know, I feel a little lightheaded. I'm not bleeding, am I?
No, well, you just relax. It'll get over in a minute.
And
The sedation is not done yet.
in 1962, we won the Ocall football. Bob Wyatt, Pete Green, Tom Grubb, that group, I was a sophomore.
Yeah.
And this Bob, it was a tradition, Bob Miller invited the team up to a cabin out in the woods in Monticello. And everybody got a steak, and at your table was a quart of chocolate milk and a quart of white milk, and all that, and they weighed you coming in, and they weighed you going out, and there was a prize. Pete Green weighed like 6 pounds more than he came in and won the prize.
Eat that much.
We just ate our brains out. And then our senior year, we won the Oakland basketball.
Yes, I remember
He
this.
brought strawberry shortcakes down to school. They interrupted class and
For the whole school.
whole school. The whole school didn't get the steak, just the football team.
Yeah.
The best smelling aftershave lotion. I don't
Well,
think
it's aquavelva from this stuff.
you
It's,
can't get
It's
that on
here,
the
here it is.
floor, can you?
here, just break that off, and that's what
You
you
know, speaking of that, buying the whole school, Orson Moorhead, the South Ward, where every year, the ice cream truck was over a little grocery store across the street, and he would furnish ice cream for all the kids in school.
Really?
Great school.
He was police chief later in
police
life.
Yeah, he was police chief, yeah.
And there was a picture, Joe Caldwell had a picture, I don't know if Dave, but his favorite, Joe Caldwell's picture of a adult baseball league with Bob Caldwell.
Yeah.
And there was Orson Moorhead.
Orson
It was in the
Moorhead.
paper, Orson
Yeah.
Moorhead.
Yeah, I've seen that picture.
Curly headed.
Yeah,
Yeah, nice guy.
nice fellow.
Yeah, he was never married.
Well, he also gave kids a break. Remember back in the days when we drove, that the police would call you over and a lot of them give you a break and say, what are you doing? You know, I came out of the old Monocles down here, but the old IGA, and I had you and Skinner and Bright, those guys saying, get on it, so I punched it, and I was going sideways down there. I was wheel hopping and going sideways back when you could wheel hop and go sideways, and there was Everett Helm. Pulls me over, and I'm sitting there, I'm about crying, oh no. He said, Mike, what the hell are you doing? I said, well, these guys, you know,
These guys.
they told me to get on it. He said, Mike, he said, you're dead. I said, oh man. He said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a break, but don't do it again. And I also remember pulling up a stop sign with the old North Ward when I was real young. I was sitting there pulling it up, and I had it all the way out of the ground. I don't know what I was doing. And I think it was Orson Moorhead said, what are you doing there, Mike? And I said, somebody's trying to steal this sign. I was just trying to put it back in. So he wrote me on this piece of paper, I'm gonna write this down, and it's super secret, and he gave it to me. It never dawned on me that he gave it to me, so he didn't have it anymore, you know, but I thought, oh no, they got me on this thing. But police, you got a lot of breaks back in those days,
Oh, yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You got warned a lot.
Well,
Now, if you were drinking illegal, the first thing they would do would take your booze away from you. And if you were in serious kind of trouble, they'd make sure you got it home to your parents, but they kept your,
They kept your
They kept the
alcohol.
alcohol.
yeah, they kept yours for
Yeah.
security.
for security. Yeah.
Well, Fred, this was when did you graduate, Fred?
61.
61. Do you remember what the incident? This is an Orson Moorhead story with Bob Beasley, Gunnar Taylor, Allison, Lemna. They had that Studebaker. and they put Bob Beasley in the trunk.
Yes, with a bottle of ketchup.
Bottle of ketchup,
arms down.
and they had his arm hanging
Yeah.
out. They drove around town in that red Studebaker.
Yeah.
Orson Moorhead saw it, called in the state police and stuff, thought they had a dead body. They finally got the Studebaker stopped later, by then Beasley was out of it. They wouldn't know what they did with the body.
I remember that.
They should have totally ate it.
They came down Sale Street and turned south here on Park
They
Street.
just drove around town
And
with
his
his
arm
arm
hanging
hanging
out
out.
the back of the trunk, so they had to close down, and all you could see was the blood running
Blood
down.
running down his
Yeah.
arm.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, you can't have fun anymore nowadays, can you?
Well, that might be a little bit of too much of a trick these days.
But even then, they didn't get in trouble. You know,
No.
it's-
No, they wouldn't be in
Pranks.
trouble.
Pranks.
Just a prank.
Yeah.
No,
Might be
that,
the best haircut I ever got here.
Are you happy
I'm
with
gonna
it?
bring a camera every time and tell Fred, the whole world's watching
Oh
Fred.
my God, no.
Then he's got a-
You haven't seen the back of it, have you?
It's right in the mirror for
You
you.
had,
seen that
you had
before.
a hell of a haircut for him
No,
yet,
I
Fred?
haven't seen the back of it.
Well, we got, I gotta make some noise.
Alright.
Okay.
Hang on just a minute, this man's coming back, fine.
That's great. That's,
I wanna hear you Dairy Queen
oh,
with your girlfriend in the
Couple
car.
powder, couple
Like
powder
Barber?
coming on here.
No, wasn't Barber. This one was made of vinyl.
Baby powder.
oh, well, I don't.
No, no, Delic.
I got a couple of those.
There you go, sir, brand new, all right, there you go.
I
read-
I need
I
some
love
friends
it.
over there,
Told
because
the
they suck
story
her
on it.
and corrected by you.
Who was it?
How much is your haircut?
I've got a lot of stories.
I remember.
I did do this with Gary Brewer one time. I got one of my mom's wigs from the beauty shop,
Yeah.
and Brewer wore these black
How
contact
much owe
glasses,
We
and he had a heavy beard,
Wait a
and a
minute.
big gap in his tooth. And we
How
drove
much
through
owe
Dairy
you?
Queen, and he was over here with his
What was
arm
the bill?
around like that, and leaned over,
Yeah.
and as we drove through, he was going.
How much?
35,
And
what did we
people
do
going,
last
"My
time?
I don't know, I forgot.
You
I
see
think I
good
paid,
girl
I
out
don't
there.
remember, I paid,
Yeah, I think you.
Remember that?
whatever it was.
I think you.
I remember
There's money's changing hands here.
going
I think it
swimming
was
at the
$10
USI
and,
pool
we call it even.
with John Beatty.
They give-
What do you want,
And
how
he
much
was in
is
the
it,
front seat
12?
sitting in the middle.
Yeah, I got
He
one.
just forgot one thing. He
Okay.
put his clothes back on. We drove through Dairy Queen that night. He didn't care. He
I don't
didn't
care, do what you want.
We had several late night
12,
swimming.
and then I'll get.
Oh, yeah. USI swimming.
Now tell us something Hummer you did.
$23.
Now you had some fun.
So I owe you
I had
$23,
fun when I
right?
was here.
Well, here,
That was one of the reasons why I went
What do I owe you for the?
and enlisted in the
What'd
army.
you say?
That's right.
25?
Even at that
14,
age of 17,
and just.
I knew I had to do something.
It's
What do I owe
straightened
you
out.
for the?
Yeah.
Let's
Sorry,
start
Did,
at
did
35.
you and Kelly go together?
30, we'll
Yeah,
call
me
it
and
even.
Roger Kelly.
Was he a tunnel rat they said over there?
Yeah, he was.
Oh, I just can't imagine that.
He
job.
was.
Now, he died,
Well,
right?
say,
Yeah, he passed away
A couple of years ago.
just
what do you
last
wanna
year.
do?
Was
You
it
know,
last year?
Yeah.
I saw him
You want 30?
5, 6, 7 years ago and talked to him. I was like Roger.
Hold it.
He seemed, I don't want to say this wrong. Was he kind of paranoid or
Are we
suspicious
done?
We're done.
near the end?
All right,
Yeah,
you gotta figure it out.
I get a haircut and
Was
make
that-
money.
Was that
There you
Vietnam,
go.
I
think,
think
or something?
it was.
I paid him to get out of the chair.
Maybe you need to get out of the chair.
I've seen him uptown when he was living here in
I don't know
town.
what's going on.
He would never walk the straight line. He would walk,
Yeah.
you know, whatever, like from the post office.
Yeah.
He wouldn't walk down the sidewalk in front of the library, he'd cut across
Yeah.
and then
Just zigzag.
angles, zigzag all the time.
Yeah, he was a tunnel rat in Vietnam.
I just don't know how they tie a rope on you. I wouldn't go down with, I have claustrophobia.
He
You
told
know
me the
what?
story one time when he was in there and he was crawling along and all at once this set of eyeballs appeared in front of him.
Gee,
And that's what to do, Roger. He said, I had my 45, I pulled the trigger and I turned around and I got the hell out of there. He said, I don't know if I hit the guy or don't know what happened.
You know who else did that besides Roger Kelly at Tuscola? Craig Sanderson was a tunnel rat.
That's
Yeah, he
right.
was kind of
I
a small
just-
guy too.
I can't, that's the one good thing about being big and fat. They don't want you to be a tunnel rat.
No, they
Well,
didn't.
that's why they chose Roger to do it, because he was,
Well, and he was quick. Roger was ornery.
oh yeah.
He was kind of mean.
So let's talk about our pool hall buddies. Who's all gone now? Alton's passed away, Webb's passed away,
Yep.
Chuck Turnell's passed away.
He's the one that told me about your girlfriend.
All that Chuck, I'll tell you what, that Chuck.
No girlfriend stories.
No,
Hey, you
no.
look sharp.
Don't I have the, here, let's see what,
Let's see the back. Oh, never mind that one spot, that's okay.
What was that?
I'd skip
Oh,
some
that's it.
down there.
How's it look back there?
It looks
Is
good.
there anything
Man,
left?
it looks
good.
good.
Another good
So-
snooker player.
Actually,
Put it
Frank
back
Graham.
there.
And you know what, you're,
Kirkman wearing.
it's shaved
Frank
nicely.
Graham was a great.
Yeah.
I love the razor part.
Do you know, I used to cut Kirk Little's hair.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, not, yeah, no, wait a minute.
Kirk
Memory-
runs a
memory
garage.
thing. Wait, no, wait. Luke Little.
Oh, yeah.
I used to cut Luke's hair. Well, in back of his head, there
Got
was
a
one
spot.
white spot.
You got a spot back there.
Yeah.
All right. So this is years later. I haven't seen him going wherever he went anyway. And my son Tom's in Houston.
Right.
Well, Barb, my wife, was up there in the hospital at Carroll for her heart at that time. Tom and his family come home. It's about Thanksgiving. Matter of fact, it is. So we go up to see Barb at Carroll. We come downstairs to the main floor, go leaving the hospital. There's a whole, must be about 100 people standing there. And here I see the back, this kid with a scrubs on. And I just saw the back, that white spot. And I said, Luke. And he turned around. I said, Tom, it's Luke.
Yeah, that was caused, they said.
They
by-
graduated together, they hadn't seen each other
That
since
was
high
caused,
school.
that was caused by a vacuum cleaner.
Identified.
No, it was
identified
my
by
thumb.
the back of his head.
Identified by the back of his head.
But Tom,
Yeah.
Fred's son Tom used to come visit us when we lived in Sparta. quite a bit.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that
He
part.
and my son were same age, and
That's right, that's right.
And,
you were.
he'd come spend a week at a time with us.
And Annie's in, where,
She's in
Indianapolis?
Indianapolis, she's
Yeah.
married, and she's a graphic art designer, and she's got a little 3-year-old boy.
Oh, boy.
And you know, she was inspired at an early age of 6 years old. What happened was one Sunday we were watching this Bob Ross painting, you know,
Big
with
Apple,
the
yes,
friendly
Big
tree and
Apple.
all that.
Yeah.
And so after that, she said, Dad, can I paint? And I said, sure. So I took her to the basement, put a long sleeve white shirt on her as a smock, and I got the number board painted out, and I painted that all white gesso, and I got the oil paints out in the brush, and I let her go at it. And she did it, and then the only thing I showed her was a fan brush, how the technique of it, and so she did that. And got done, and I still see her, she was standing there. I said, are you done? Yeah, okay. So we let it dry, and I framed it, took it up to my mother-in-law's about a week later, and gave it to her, and today my mother-in-law died, she thought I did it. Annie did it. And for this day, that's what inspired Annie to become a graphic art designer.
Isn't that something?
And if you go to Walmart and see, they got these big posters for sale, there's a slash at the bottom that says Trends, that's the company she worked for. And it just, it's amazing. I was very proud of her, but at the same time, you know, these kids just got gifts if they can just figure out what it is, you know?
You're right.
Well,
It's what Confucius
We're
said.
still working on it.
Find a job you really like, you don't have to
Figure it out
work
one
a day
of
in your
these
life.
One of these days, we'll
Yeah,
figure out our purpose.
I've never.
Don't you ever have a guilty conscience, Your Honor?
That's all.
I mean to tell
know
you,
what?
you've expounded on these days, you got so much trouble, and now, how would you pass these cases?
They asked,
How would you,
they asked Mark Twain one time, said, don't you have any shame? He said, no. He said, really? He said, no, I'm full of shame. There's room for no more shame. You know, I'm full of guilt. I'm full of everything. I'm there. So, how's Mary Ann, your sister, doing?
well, I don't see her.
You don't see her?
No.
She was
Is
my
that-
sister's.
is that
Old
the,
Mount Zion.
is
She
that
was
the
my
beauty
sister's
queen?
class.
Is
Pardon?
that the beauty queen?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Miss Tuscola.
yeah, she was
Tuscola.
good.
My sister's class, the class of
Can you imagine
'63.
looking at Fred that he had a sister who was a.
Well, you should have seen him dance.
Yeah,
I mean,
he could cut a rug.
He could cut a rug.
I don't know,
I said-
that's all.
She's over Mount Zion, you don't see her?
No.
She
she's-
okay?
Yeah, as far as I know, she's doing fine, but I've tried to get a hold of her more than once, but I don't know. She's
Well, we
just-
start drifting away, some of us.
Yeah, we do, and that's what happened, yeah. Speaking, I wanna get back to the school, South Ward, you spoke of teachers, but there was one individual there that it was an awesome experience. And it wasn't until years later, was L.H. Mann.
Oh, well, he was also, he was at the North Ward.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, he
And
was.
He was a principal, and we used to have to pass, I don't know if they do it anymore, you had to pass a constitution test.
Yes,
And I've still got the book. It's the Bill of Rights. And he would sit there and lecture you, and you sit out there in that auditorium. To this day, those are Nazi torture chairs. Those were the worst chairs in the world. Remember those chairs?
uh-huh.
You couldn't sit more about a half
Oh, they
hour and
were
start
hard.
pulling into.
I remember those chairs.
Everybody's got back problems that sit there.
Now, I'll tell you
Yeah,
what,
in fact, you have to go sit on this plant when you're all done sitting
I'll tell you what, let me,
But we knew the Bill of
Where's
Rights.
the phone?
I
We
don't
all
think
do
they
that.
have
Hang on the wall.
a constitution anymore. I think they done away with that.
Yeah, there is no constitution.
Well,
so,
when I was still there,
But
we
he
tried
was-
to pass it, when I was principal.
Yeah.
so.
Now, I heard a great story one time.
they hung up on you.
I think I'm.
And he was no nonsense, and there was a story of a guy, I won't say his name, but he broke in and Mr. Man caught him
Yep,
and chased him. And there was a hedge out there about 5 foot tall, and this really great athletic high school kid high jumped it, hurdled it, and Mr. Man tried and wound up in the middle of it, and they had to come get him. He was stuck in the head.
I'll
He
tell
was a
you,
tough guy.
when the
Remember the
first-
story?
the-
Remember who it was?
Yeah, and the first day I came there to the 6th grade, and my teacher was Mr. Bram, and it was in the winter time, and he was all
Bob
sick.
Graham.
Bob
Yep, and he was sick, so guess who comes and teaches the class?
LH.
LH comes in there,
Lawrence.
and the first thing he does is goes up to the chalkboard, and he writes a series of 6 digits, another row, and another row, and another row, draws a line, and then he says, he writes the answer, and he says, "Is that right?" Well, we're sitting there with, yeah, so we have, yeah, that's right, yeah, pretty good, aren't I?
He was
So
a
Doug
math
Green
teacher.
says, he says, yeah, but he says, you probably have them numbers down before you come in. He reaches the black, give me some numbers. So we gave him numbers, you know, we gave him a whole truckload of numbers, drew the line, wrote the answer. That right? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And then, after that little thing, he does a little bit more, then he comes around the room. He came up behind me, and he came up and he started massaging the back of my neck. And then he says, what was the name of Jeremy Lee's white horse he came in?
Sound like he's Vice President Biden.
Yeah, he said, what was the name, what was the color of General Lee's white horse he came in on? And I'm sitting there feeling this. I don't know what the hell he's saying. What was the name of General Lee's white horse, the color of his horse he rode in on? And so here, I still feel this. What was it? And those guys are laughing. Well, what are they laughing at?
Who's
You know, I
buried
got
Grant?
this thing on my neck.
Who's
and-
buried Grant's tomb?
and so, you know, that's, yeah, you know, that's what it's, that sort of thing. And so finally, they're laughing, what the hell are they laughing? This guy's got his hand on my neck.
Oh, yeah.
But it was here.
He's putting the Vulcan
He was a
death
math
grip like it.
teacher. That was his
Oh,
claim to fame.
he was a straight arrow, honest guy, no nonsense.
Yeah.
We dedicated, I think my senior year, we dedicated the annual to him when he retired. LH was just a.
He'd be out on that playground with those 7th, 8th grade boys playing touch football. He liked to tackle.
Yeah.
In the meantime, if you're on the other end of the playground, you get in trouble, right away, I guess I did something wrong, I didn't know, but they said, hey, Mr. Man wants you, you look over there, he's way over there, and he's going like this, pointing that finger, you can feel that finger hitting your chest, and if he goes up like that, it means you're in trouble, go to the office.
Wow.
And yeah, that's the way he was.
He
And,
had-
I had a vision of him, you see, and it was a strict, disciplined,
Oh, yeah.
never swore, never cussed, never smoked. He had this air about him
He
that
did.
he was on a pedestal.
Yeah. He
So
was-
one day, he comes into the Barber Shop Hotel. John and I are there. It's kind of slow that day. It's a fall day. We're sitting there. I'm gawking out the window of the dime store. He comes over and he sits. Whenever he sits down, he takes his fingers and like that, just two on, and they just puts his fingers together. You know, hands together, fingers right together, same fingers to same fingers, back and forth. And he's doing this as he meditates and cogitates. And then he says,
He was a Buddhist, most people don't know that.
yeah.
Mr. Man was?
No, I just made that up.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And he says, all of a sudden I hear this out of the blue, how'd you bastards like to make a lot of money? Boom! That blew the whole vision of Mr. Man. I had no idea.
Yeah.
And then I said,
Well,
Oh?
if it's true, it's true.
I said, why? What do you got in mind? He says, what do you know about this Resorts International? Oh, I don't know, some kind of a sleepy time lodge or something? John says, no, it's a gambling casino. Oh, in Atlantic City. Oh, yeah. I said, why? You got something in mind? Yeah, he says, just let's the three of us get together here and say, oh, I'll chip in $1,000 and buy some stock. Oh? Yeah, it just went public. Oh, okay. I didn't know anything about buying stock. I didn't know anything about it. And so he just sat there a little while, never said anything, and he left. And then he went around town to some of his other friends. I found out later on that he had bought into shares, $7, $8, $9. And that was it. And about 6 weeks later, the stuff went up to $222 a share and unloaded.
I was gonna say, I thought he'd made some
He
money.
knew how to run the, he
Well,
knew how to run the futures.
I
He's good.
probated his will when he passed away, and it's public record, it's nothing revealing, but he was worth some money, he was good with money.
He was very good. He was an
And he
excellent
lived there on Sunset Drive, right there, kept his money.
relationship when we go fishing.
Hmm.
And that's the other thing is, I didn't know what was going on. He and I went down to Shelbyville Lake, and we're fishing there up by Fox Harbor in an area that's pretty neat. We saw people catching crappie down there towards, it's the old railroad bed. Well, he was sitting there and he had a Mep spinner and he was casting that thing and it's way out there. Well, he was bringing it in and all of a sudden he catches something. So I'm on one end and he's on the other. Now he's about 80 years old. He's got these green boots up to his knees on. I got my hip boots up, shucked down to the knees. I'm over there, he's over here on the rock riprap, steep embankment, and he's fishing away. You know, he always told us, you always want to have a good sharp pocket knife. I said, oh, when you get a fish, it's too big, you can cut the line.
Yeah.
So anyway, here he was fishing this thing, and he's got something. Boy, he's really working it. And finally he looked over me and he says, I think I need some help. I said, yeah. So he just, I think I need some help. I said, yeah. So he says, I think I need some help. Yeah, you caught him, you landed him. So then I thought, maybe I better go over there. So I pulled the reel in, and I went over there, and I pulled my boots up, and we didn't have a net. So we got him up there, and he had a grinnell. As about, well, it was 30 inches long, we guesstimated, that he had a hooked, and I didn't have a net. An old bow-fin grinnell. And I got in the water and he pulled it by just about time I got both hands on it and threw it up on the bank. And there was an old dead tree laying up there. And we hung it, I hung it up there in the tree with a coon's dick. Good old prehistoric. So he goes out there, again, he catches another one. And this dang thing is bigger. He caught it in the tail.
I've never
What's
seen
a
a
grinnell?
grinnell.
What's a grinnell?
They're in the Kaskaskia River.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, they look
Yeah,
like
like
they're
a carp.
slimy, but they're a
They're-
prehistoric
They
fish.
kinda look,
They look like-
resemble a northern pike.
The tail,
Got
it's,
teeth.
well, it's got a,
In the Caskie?
it's a
Yeah.
cat, it's a,
Oh, yeah.
it's a
Rock
catfish
Kelly's back there and
face.
Catch them all the time.
It's like a catfish face, it's got rows of alligator teeth, and then you go back into the tail is round, like a catfish was round, and it's got a black dot on its tail. And it's a pretty, yeah, it's
They
a,
got a pointed snout.
if you catch one of them, if there's any around you, the fish are gone. Those things are dangerous. But anyway, we wound up, he wound up catching two more bigger than that. And we went home and never thought anything about it. Well, here he comes again about 2 weeks later in the hotel. He gets down, he sits down, he's putting his hands together again. He says, John, what do you think of a man what goes fishing with his friend? And his friend catches a state record fish. And he puts it in the tree for the coons to eat. John says, not very much of him. Well, what happened was that LH caught this 13 inches long. I stepped 2 of them off and about 4 more inches on that one he caught. Some kid was fishing down below the dam and caught a 12-inch grinnell and asked DNR what it was, and they found it wasn't a state record established. So the kid set the record with his 12-inch grinnell.
Now that's true.
That's true.
Okay.
That is true.
Gee, man.
That is true. And I never
These
felt,
fish stories, you know, I just don't like these fish stories, but I will say, I caught a fish one time. I can't tell you how much it weighed, but the negative of the photograph weighed 3 pounds. Just the
Well,
photograph.
that is a fish story.
That is a
Yeah,
fish story.
That's a fish story.
Okay, one more question for Howard.
All right, we finally got
These
you on.
new flags that are dark, like
Blue,
your hat,
blue,
right?
orange.
What's that representative of, or Is there anything special about it, or
As
it's
far
just,
as I know, they're not.
there's nothing?
No.
It's not like a,
Like the police have one that are all blue with one red stripe, or the firemen have one.
or it could be someone that's a first responder?
Some of
I
the
think
first
the
re-
military actually has the darker colored flags on their uniforms now.
And that's just so they don't stand out.
Yeah, right.
They're muted.
It's more
and,
camouflage than
right.
anything.
Well, I heard if you had one, a flag flying at your house, that was like a first responder.
Well,
Well,
they're regular
they've
flags,
got-
but they've got a colored stripe
like a
going
blue
through.
line.
Yeah, blue line or black, and I
Right.
think, the one out there on Egyptian Trail's got a black
There's
line.
been a lot of different, variations of
Versions.
those, and to me, personally, I'm not a fan. To me, a flag's a flag, and you fly the flag, and it's red, white, and blue, and
What do you
It
think?
all has meaning, every bit of it.
I mean, I'm not offended by someone using a different colored, adding a line to it, but to me, then it's no longer the U.S. flag. It's now a flag representing something else that looks
Yeah.
similar to the U.S. flag. The U.S. flag is red, white, and blue, and that's what it is. And if you change it, it's no longer the U.S. flag. It's representing something else. It may be something good and has value and means something to somebody, but to me, it's no longer.
There's nothing like the red, white, and blue.
It's not.
Now, Howard, can we expect you on more often?
Probably.
You know more about Tuscola than Bill and I combined.
Oh, I don't know that.
We got kind of a twofer today.
I don't know that.
Well, we talked about Howard so much, it's.
Howard's a little soft spoken too. He's
Well, we'll get him going.
Well, I'm a soft-spoken kind
We'll
of.
have,
We'll
to,
get him
we'll
going.
have to wind him up.
That comes with years of being told not to speak up.
Well, they told me that too, but it didn't work.
I didn't want to ask
Why'd you
Fred.
listen, why'd you listen to him?
I did want to ask Fred a little bit about, because this is an authentic barber shop. So one of the
This
reasons
is
we
it.
wanted to come here is show people what a authentic barber.
Well-
They've never seen one.
They've never seen a barber shop with this in the middle.
Now, take it easy on that, that's a sensitive plant.
That's
It's a
how,
very
I want to know
sensitive
how old is this barber chair?
Fred,
Oh, it's around in 1949, 50.
Fred, you put a match near this, it's gonna explode.
No. I found out that if you put the water in there, you'll kill it.
Right. And this is how does this hydraulic work, Fred?
Well, you see, what you do is you just simply put it like that, and you just crank it up. That takes the cylinder and puts the oil into the.
Now, how old's the chair? 40 years?
Hydraulics up, so
40 years?
hydraulics lift.
This original chair?
This is Kenny Collins' chair from Atwood. Kenny was a barber in
Even got an
Atwood,
ashtray
in
built
his
in.
garage.
Now, can you get this worked on, did anybody?
Now, that chair over there, yeah, we've got both of these chairs done. I redid because what we call a dog is a chunk of metal in the inner cylinder that wears down. You have to
Another
take it all
chair.
apart, take it to a shop,
Another
machine
chair over
shop and
there.
build it up, about 10 thousandths of an inch. That chair, Wayne Brown, and I bought that off of Wayne, when I first.
Another
came.
hotel,
He was a good barber, I think.
Yeah, he was.
Nice guy.
He was good. You know.
I want to show if I can take this off here without losing us. I don't know if I can. There we go.
A lot of signs around here. Here's one that says, "Be patient with me, God isn't finished with me yet."
Yeah.
Well, I want to show on this chair, it even has a ashtray built in.
Oh, yeah.
That is old school right there. You don't see that anymore.
Yeah,
It's got
the
the
other
hydraulic
chairs-
on the side.
Yeah, the other chairs are identical to it almost. There is a little variation in the
Got a little-
lever.
Yeah,
but
got a
the
little,
operation is the same.
little ashtray here on that chair. And
That's a 1949. It has the sticker on it. This doesn't have the sticker, but it's about the same age.
Go put your, thing on his time. Open most days, about 8 or 9 occasionally, as early as 7, sometimes late as noon.
yeah, just sort of like we are with our webcast. We start at 2 o'clock,
Our webcast is
Yeah,
give or
about
take a
9
half
or
hour.
8.
more or less.
Give or take a
Yeah.
half hour.
Yeah.
And of course, Pickles is my favorite cartoon in the paper.
Now that Pickles magazine, I got that from Dick Schaefer. He graduated in '61.
Used to-
Dick was outside of Reno.
Is he Tom? You have a brother Tom?
Tom, yeah.
Carved ducks, did he?
Yeah, Tom was good.
Good.
He
Really
was
good.
good with ducks, yes.
And where's Dick at now?
Dick is out there outside of Reno, and he while he was in the Army, he learned to become a dental technician. And he was in Germany for about, a couple years, about almost 4 years, I think. And then after that, he came home, he married a German girl, came home, and I met him out at the plant. I was working a straight midnight shift, and he was working shift work in the lab until he could get a job in a lab up in Champaign, which eventually he did. And he is the one that encouraged me at that time. I was kind of struggling a little bit from the situation I had, and he encouraged me to go to Barber College. And I don't know, it's just one of those things. Was I was searching, not knowing which direction to go, and he advised, he'd say to me, why don't you go, Fred, you're not going to do anything here, this auctioneering. He said, why don't you go over there to Decatur and check out Barber College? Well, I don't know. And then he said, I met him another time on the ship, and he says, did you ever go to Decatur? I said, no. He said, why don't you go over there? Hell, he says, with your bullshit, you'd make a good barber. So I went over, and guess what? 51 years later, here I is.
No extra charge for the bullshit.
Now,
Yeah, no extra charge.
Now I want you to, this is an early valuable Alexander Mobile. I want you to show up there.
which one's that?
Yeah, Alexander Calder, famous Mobile. Get a shot of that.
I don't know what I'm looking at.
Well, right below the light.
Turn the light
Whoa,
switch on.
oh, here.
Yeah, there
Turn
you
the
go.
light switch on the wall.
There it is.
On the wall.
Is it,
There it is. That's
Now
an
you know
early-
what that is.
That's Alexander Calder.
That is the Lunkerlure.
The what?
And the Lunkerlure.
That's it.
There was a guy in Southern
It's
Illinois.
a-
Tom and I go down, Schaefer and I go down
Look at that hook on
to
that.
Carterville.
Yeah, it's a lure.
And
Fishing lure.
Is that for that fish you caught down there with LA?
no, this is another one.
The,
There's a story behind this one. Now, Tom and I go down there fishing, and the guy by the name of Fred Washburn lived in Carterville. He made those things about 5 inches long. It had a bucktail on the back. It was a Colorado spinner blade for the pan that he soldered the wire to. Then he took aluminum flashing stuff and made the propeller. And when that became the hottest bass lure there ever was. And I mean, they were murdering bass down there, huge with these things, because you could get these up into brush and weeds, anything, and would come right through. And it went right across the surface, just vertical right across the top. Well, what happened was,
It's what I use for my bass fishing.
what happened was, Fred just made a bunch of them and sold them, and never got a patent. Some guy came along and bought one, saw there was no patent, he went and got a patent, and then turned around and sued Fred for making them.
huh.
But what happened was, this guy came in one day, and we were talking fish, and we talked about Lunkerlure. He knew it. And then he showed me this. He made this.
Yeah.
And he was down at Shelbyville. And he told me that he tied a nylon cord on it, put it behind the boat, and started pulling it across the boat. And a big old muskie hit it, and busted off the pan, and
Back
it
here.
really, yeah, it really worked.
Is this a fish
You
story?
can see the teeth marks up on that thing. But I fixed it. I said, can you make me one like that? He said, well, you can have this one. So he gave it to me, so I took it home and fixed it. And that's the way it was. It later came out
Teeth marks.
on the
Yeah,
market with,
that's what it
instead
is.
of the Colorado spinner blade, they put it was a lead weight in there as a spinner bait weight, and then they used vinyl skirt later on.
You know, Fred and I one time went fishing down at Shelbyville. We were back in this one cove, and the fish were biting like crazy. He said, man, he says, we gotta remember this place. And so Fred reached over and put a big black X on the side of the boat.
Yeah.
And we went inshore, and I said, Fred, that's not so smart. He goes, why is that? I said, what if we don't get the same boat next time?
You see? You never know. So we go back and looking for that X boat, that boat with the X on it first.
Everything that you hear in the barber shop is true.
And that's-
Tell me about this potbelly stove. You got a fire going in it?
Oh, man, that thing's cooking.
Well, I'll tell you what. That came out of the freight room at CNI Depot. When I was 14 years old, I used to loaf at the evening clerk. And one of the things I got to do as a kid was stock the stoves in the wintertime for the waiting room in the office. So Chick lived in Arthur, and he took me in the freight room to show me where the cobs and coal read. And when we came back there, I saw this potbelly stove, and I said, hey, you got another stove? He says, you want it? Take it home with you. I said, I don't want that damn thing. Well, the next thing you know, time went on, and Chick got pretty sick, and he died. And as time went further, they decided to demolition the depot.
Right.
I didn't know anything about this, but the section crew was called in to take all the furniture, put it in a gondola car, and ship it to the scrapyard. Well, I found out later what happened was that I got married and got a wood stove and started burning wood. Well, I decided I want a potbelly stove out of railroad caboose, so I started asking around. Somebody says go up there to Danville, and you can probably find one up there.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't do that, but Harlan Henderson came in one day, and I asked Harlan. I said, "Where can I get a potbelly?" "Well, I got one up there in the barn. You can go look at it." So I got Leonard Jackson and we went up there and got it and brought it home. And I got to looking at that thing, and I thought, you know what? That looks like the same damn stove in the freight room Chick tried to give me, because the base was green, it said C&I-CRY on the foot, and it was all rusted, and the chimney went straight up 25 feet to the ceiling, and every time it rained, the water would come down. It was all rusted pipe and a puddle of water on top. And so I thought, well, how in the world? That can't be. So anyway, I found out that later, what happened was that old Fung Dunner from Villa Grove, Slick Williams, was the section crew boss. Instead of going to the scrap yards, they went to his place in Villa Grove, and him and Rosie Claire. Then they had an auction, and they had it over at Carlin's barn over there on the Carroll Street at the time, his auction head. And I didn't know anything about it. But I got this, and I looked at that. I swear that's the same stove. It was sand colored. I painted oil on it when I got it, and it was in the carport. It wouldn't rust. Anyway, I eventually brought it down here. Dennis Pickett came in. He looked at that one day. He says, "Oh, what do you got here?" I said, "Well, I got it off of Harlan Henderson." I said, "I don't know what that
And he worked at the depot.
I don't know what that CNRCRY means." He said, "Well, I worked up the TY Tower with Bob Moonmoy. He's a railroad buff. He'll find out." So he did, and he called me the next day. He said, "That's the Chicago and Indiana Coal Railway, and it was absorbed in 1880 by the CDI." I said, "That's the same damn stove Chick tried to give me." And I went out to Pizza Hut one time. I saw a picture out there of the depot. I always wanted a picture of the depot. And I told the lady manager out there, and she tried to take a picture of it and couldn't get her done. So about 3 days later, she came and she says, "Fred, here, you should well have this picture. You know more about
There's
this
a
stuff than I do."
picture, yeah.
That's about 1934, I think, something like that.
You know, speaking of Rosie Claire, you
Yeah.
all remember Rosie's store downtown?
Yeah.
If you can't, it's on, everything's on the shelf. You can't find it on the shelf, it's on the floor. It's on the floor, it's on the ceiling. If you can't find the ceiling, you don't need it.
That's right.
That's the way Huey's used to
Yeah.
be in, up in
Five
Urbana.
Point.
Yeah, Huey's, yeah.
David?
If we ain't got it, you don't need it.
You know, in our remaining 30 seconds, the paper, school board debates, security things, racer, building houses, basketball, music booster, 3 good articles.
We're just doing
Pete Buckley.
Pete Buckley.
Pete Buckley.
We haven't mentioned Pete Buckley yet.
And there's,
Let's hope
He had a 3-part story.
yeah, he had 3 of them. Let's get a shot of Pete in
There's
there.
Pete Buckley right there.
Fred does Pete's hair.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I used to, but I don't see him anymore.
yeah. It's
Yeah, it's called
He
the.
moved to
Doesn't
St.
take too long.
Joe.
That's why.
And then Dave's
I
got.
would maybe today come down and stop in.
Dave's got a Dave, otherwise known as Paw Dave.
Papa
Yeah.
Dave.
That's in your article. And then Lena has a good thing about as you get older, clothes don't look appropriate.
Yeah.
And this solved the riddle. We talked about the.
Yeah, we
Black
talked
House.
about this last week, and this does. This solved the riddle.
And that is the house that my uncle Myron and Mary used to own. That thing is the architectural style is East Lake.
1899 drawing.
East Lake style. It's been written up in Champaign News Gazette. It's a very